Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 12 of 30 of real estate content in Nigeria. My name is John Olisa, and I'm the CEO of Red Diamond Properties Limited. And over the last 11 days, we've discussed various aspects of real estate in Nigeria, from understanding real estate to property brokerage, to short let, to property yearly rental, to land banking, to property flipping we did yesterday. I've also spoken about the different types of land titles in Nigeria. If you missed out on any of this, you can go to my YouTube page, John Olisa, and catch up everything. So today I'm going to be talking about another aspect of real estate, which is called property management. A property manager is somebody that manages the entirety of a property. Is someone who is hired by the landlord to manage the affairs of a property. And in today's Facebook Live, I'm going to be sharing many of the duties of a property manager. And it is advisable that a property manager be one who has a background in property, in land. So suitable property managers include lawyers, include estate surveyors, include land valuers, people within the real estate space. It could be architects and the like, because to the best of my knowledge, there is no course called property management. But people who already have a background knowledge of property in general, whether from the legal aspect, whether from the building aspect, the construction aspect, have a likelihood of doing much more better. So a property manager is usually one that manages a property on behalf of the landlord. And what happens is that there's usually an agreement between the landlord and the property manager, advisably a written agreement, a contract that should state out all the duties so that nothing is assumed. So a property manager is important. And I shared a story in my book, How to Make Money in Real Estate in Nigeria, on property management. A man had a property in Ilupeju in Lagos and he was traveling out of Nigeria. And what did he do? He simply gave the property to his brother to manage. The brother had no knowledge of property management, but he just felt he could give it to him. And the brother did a poor job. When the man came back into the country, visiting the country, when he saw the property, it was a shadow of his former self. The man was so distressed that he just disposed of the property. So you need to understand that not everybody can manage a property. You don't give somebody to manage your property just because he's your friend or he's your family member. The question is the person professional? Does the person have the required expertise, required knowledge to effectively manage a property? Because property management could be the difference between a successful real estate investment and a failing one. I've seen some properties that are very good upon construction, but due to poor management, their value is reduced. Whether rental value, yes, well, if it's a residential property, or whether commercial, property management is very important. And in today's in today's life, I'm going to be focusing basically on property management in relation to residential properties. We have property managers that manage commercial properties and the like, but I'll be focusing on residential properties. And I want to be listing out some of the duties of property managers. I'll be discussing about 8 of them. Now, the first one is the duty of screening tenants. Screening tenants. You don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry who can simply pay rent to come into your property, because some tenants have a history of being recalcitrant. Some tenants have a history of defaulting on rent. In fact, the former property they are living, it's a matter that's still going on in court, and they know that rightly they will lose because they have no defense. They leave the property and come to your property. So you want to screen tenants, ask them questions. Why are you leaving your former property? If possible, if you can get across to the former landlords to know. It's very important. Screen tenant. Know they have a terrible know their criminal record, if any. Screen tenant. Know their financial capability. A tenant whose 3 to 4 months rent cannot pay your 3 to 4 months salary cannot pay your rent is a danger. Because you need to understand that once somebody comes into your property under Nigerian law, you can't just evict the person by yourself. Even if the person is in breach of the terms, you have to go to the court, and the court is the one that has to issue a judgment, deliver a judgment that will lead to the eviction. The law frowns against self-help. So you cannot just open the roof, remove the roof, evict the person violently. The law frowns against that. So you don't want anybody who will come into your property and give you problem. You don't. So you need to do good screening of the tenants. Know if they have the financial capability. Know if there are people who will not give you trouble. Know why they are leaving their former property and why they are moving and why they have chosen your own property. Proper screening is important, and you as a property manager have that duty to screen the tenants. The next one is prompt collection of rent. But before I talk more on that, know that as a property manager, the way you earn on a property management contract or agreement is that you charge about 10% of the rent. So if a property is a 10 million yearly rental, your property management fee will be 1 million per that tenant. If you're managing 5 tenants, that's 5 million. So it could be a 5%, it could be a 15%, but usually it's usually a 10%, but it's still negotiable. So that's how you get your money as a property manager. So back to what I was saying, your second duty as a property manager is to collect rent promptly from your tenants. Collecting rent promptly from the tenants in the apartment. It's not when the rent is now due that you now start reaching out to them. No, it's not at all. You have to reach out to them earlier, much times, months before expiration. Let them just be aware, because tenants can forget. They may have bills to pay. So it's very important that you do that. Always send them reminders of their rent and promptly collect the rent. The third thing I want to talk about is maintaining the property and keeping it in a good and excellent state. Yes. So part of the things I do as a company, Red Diamond Property, is property management. And in my career so far, I've managed about 6 properties. The first 2 I managed were 2 units of 2 bedroom in Lugbe in Abuja. Those were the first 2, even though I no longer manage them because of the distance. I moved to a new location and the distance was quite far, so it was not economically viable for me to continue the management of the property. But at the moment, I manage 4 properties. 2 are 2 units, 2 are 2 bedroom apartments in Gwarimpa, while the other 2 are semi-detached duplexes, 4 bedroom in Dawaki. And maintaining the property in a good, excellent condition is one of the things I try to do. If there are issues, I reach out to the landlord instantly, because you need to know things like wear and tear affect a property negatively. When water starts coming into the apartment, maybe from the wall, when there is a breakage or a leakage that is within the purview of the landlord to repair, I bring it to their notice, because you need to know, based on your tenancy agreement, there are some duties that will be borne by the tenant, while there are some duties that will be borne by the landlord. So when I'm talking of keeping it in an excellent condition, I'm talking about duties that fall within the purview of the landlord. So you want the property to be in a good condition. You want the property to be attractive. You want the property to be clean and neat. You don't want the property to look dilapidated, because it will reduce its value. So that's the third duty of a property manager: maintaining a property in a good and excellent condition. The fourth one I want to talk about is ensuring compliance with legal and regulatory requirements. Being a property manager, there are legal requirements like payments of ground rents, right? Issuing of general notices to the tenant, right? General notices to the tenant, whether it's a quit notice, whether it's notice for inspection. This is part of the legal and regulatory requirements. Regulatory requirement demand that the landlord pays ground rent. It is your duty to ensure the landlord does that. So the duties of the landlord in relation to regulatory requirements and legal requirements, you have to ensure it does it. For the tenant too, you need to ensure that the tenant does it. It's very important. It's very important. The next one I want to talk about is maintaining a cordial relationship with the landlord on one hand and with the tenant on the other hand. Maintaining a cordial relationship. Why? Because if you have a good relationship with the tenant, good relationship with the landlord, no default in rent payment. We have a landlord. The implication is that we have a landlord who will keep you longer on the job. You have a tenant who will stay longer in the property. Everybody is fine, and you earn your payment on a yearly basis without any issue. Every property I've managed, especially the ones I'm managing now, I have a good relationship with them, with the landlords. I have a good relationship. Festive periods or sometimes I buy them gifts. Even some of the tenants in my property, one of them put to bed sometime last year. What did I do? I bought her a gift for her child. I bought her a gift for herself and also for the other tenant. I try to have that relationship with them. I live in a rented apartment also, and I don't like it when it is only when it's time for rent that the property manager comes. You don't have any relationship with me. You just want rent. It's not meant to be like that. So sometimes I just talk with my tenants on issues not even related to the property. Just having that good cordial relationship with them. Even with the landlords. Not only when there's need for a repair that I now reach out to the landlord. No, I just reach out to them, maintain that cordial relationship with them. Because you need to know business comes by relationship. And businesses are also maintained by relationship. So it's very important that you have a cordial relationship with the landlord on one hand and with the tenants on one hand. Just have that because it saves you a lot of stress in the future. So that's number 5. Let me go to number 6. Number 6 says, as a property manager, you have a duty of overseeing the successful exit of tenants when they want to leave. So a tenant's rent has expired, is moving out, whether you give them quick notice or not, they are moving out, you oversee their exit. Because at the commencement of a tenancy, you need to take an inventory of appliances and fixtures and fittings in the house. So when they are moving out, you will now want to ensure that those fixtures and fittings are done. You now do an exit inspection. So when they are leaving the apartment, you inspect it again. You have done it or you had done it before they moved in. Now they are moving out again. You do it. So it's very important you oversee the successful exit of tenants. If the matter goes to court and rightfully the landlord wins, you still oversee their exit. So that is the 6th duty of a property manager. And the 7th duty of a property manager is liaising with other employees of the landlord in the property. So let's say it's a large property, maybe 10 units or blocks of flat, and the landlord has security guards, has cleaners that take care of the property, right? You need to have that relationship with the employees. Yes, you need to liaise with them. Ensure they get their duty done. Ensure the cleaners are when due. Ensure the security guards guard the place. Ensure waste is properly disposed. So as a property manager, if the property is large and the landlord has other employees in the property, you have a duty to liaise with them and with the landlord. And the last but not the least is to liaise with government agencies on behalf of the landlord. When government agencies, whether it's the local government agency, whether it's the revenue collection agency bringing notice for ground rent or whatever it is, you have to liaise with them. It's not best that due to your failure to liaise with them, they come and seal up the property. Tenant is affected, landlord is affected. No, it's not best. So you have a duty to liaise with the government and regulatory agencies. So these are 8 duties of property managers, and there's still so much more I want to share on property management. By God's grace, I'm going to continue tomorrow. Besides being a property management company, the basic thing, the major thing we do is that we are a property development company. We recently acquired our first estate land here in Abuja, in Kochiako Extension, Abuja, and you can key into it. With a 200 square meter land going for 1.5 million, you can build a 3-bedroom terrace duplex. With a 300 square meter land going for 2.2 million, you can build a 4-bedroom semi-detached duplex. It's a 400 square meter land going for 3 million. You can build a 5-bedroom fully detached duplex. While with a 1,000 square meter going for 7 million, you can build a block of flats consisting of 6 units of 1, 2, 3 bedroom, 2 units each. So if you want to key into this project, you can contact me on +234 813 799 0792. I come again, +234 813 799 0792. You can also send an email to us at reddiamondproperties10@gmail.com. reddiamondproperties10@gmail.com. So thank you so much for joining me in today's live, day 12 of the 30 days of real estate content. By God's grace, I'll continue tomorrow. And for those of you who could not join today, kindly go to our YouTube page. The video will be put there. So like, subscribe to the page, comment, share it. Remember, the most important rule of investment is this: before you invest money in any investment, the first thing to do is to invest money in acquiring knowledge about investment. And for me, I'm not even charging you for this. I'm giving you value that will help you in real estate free of charge. So the best you can do is just to learn, listen, and practicalize. So thank you so very much for joining me today in today's live. By God's grace, tomorrow we'll continue. And let me just give you a quick recap of 8 duties of property manager. Remember, 1, you screen tenant. 2, you promptly collect rent. 3, you maintain the property in a good and tenantable condition. Excellent. 4, you ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. 5, you maintain a good and cordial relationship with both the landlord and the tenant. 6, you oversee successful exit of tenant. 7, you liaise with employees in the employment of the landlord, who may be security guards or cleaners or waste collectors in the property. You liaise with them. And the last but not the least, you liaise with government agencies. Thank you so very much for joining me today once again. I am grateful. My name is John Orisa, the CEO of Red Diamond Properties. For all your real estate needs in Nigeria, especially in Abuja, kindly reach out to me. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.